Deepti Kapoor, Assistant Professor, Management Department. Today we are going to touch upon much needed and thought-provoking issues, which is how to tackle when we are faced with a situation of failure. Today we'll be talking about how to knock down all those thoughts which come as a hindrance in achieving our objective. And this we will be doing with the help of a story. We would be learning some of the lessons out of that story, which would be helpful in the personal as well as professional growth. So let's get started.
Let's start with a positive thought. Keep going and don't give up. You are a creator of the circumstances and not simply a creator of circumstances. Now it is a story time. Which story does this picture remind you of? Yes, it is a childhood story which we all are aware of, where a hare and tortoise starts off a race, and after running briskly for some time, the hare takes rest under a tree and falls asleep. Meanwhile, the tortoise takes over him and finishes the race, emerging as the winner. Moral of the story is, slow and steady wins the race. This is a version of the story that we have all grown up with. But then recently, someone told me a more interesting version of this story. And it continues. The hare was disappointed at losing the race, and he did some root cause analysis and realized that he had lost the race only because he was overconfident and careless. If he had not taken things for granted, there's no way the tortoise could have beaten him. So he challenged the tortoise to another race, and the tortoise agreed. This time, the hare went all out and ran without stopping from start to finish, and he won by several miles. The moral of the story is fast and consistent will always beat the slow and steady. It's good to be slow and steady, but it's better to be fast and reliable. Now, if you talk from organization point of view, if you have two people in your organization, one is slow and reliable and other one is fast and still reliable at what he does, the fast and reliable chap will consistently climb the organizational ladder faster than the slow one. But the story doesn't end here. The tortoise did some thinking this time and realized that there's no way he can beat the hare in a race the way it was currently formatted. He thought for a while and then challenged the hare to another race, but on a slightly different route. The hare agreed and they started off. In keeping with his self-made commitment to be consistently fast, the hare took off and ran at top speed until he came to a broad river. And the finishing line was a couple of kilometers on the other side of the river. The hare sat there wondering what to do, and in the meantime, the tortoise trundled along, got into the river, swam to the opposite bank, continued walking, and finished the race. Moral of the story. First, identify your core competency, that is your strength, and then change the playing field to suit your core competency. So let's talk from organization's point of view. Walking to your strengths will not only get you noticed but will also create opportunities for growth and advancement. The story still has not ended. The hare and the tortoise by this time had become pretty good friends, and they did some thinking together this time. Both realized that the last race could have been run much better. So they decided to do the last race again, but to run as a team this time. They started off, and this time the hare carried the tortoise till the riverbank. There the tortoise took over and swam across with the hare on his back. On the opposite bank, the hare again carried the tortoise and they reached the finishing line together. They both felt a greater sense of satisfaction than they had felt earlier. Moral of the story. It is good to be individually brilliant and to have strong core competencies, But unless you are able to work in team and harness each other's core competencies, you will always perform below par. Why? Because there will always be situations at which you will do poorly and someone else does well. Let's talk from organization's point of view. Teamwork is mainly about situational leadership, letting the person with the relevant core competency for a situation take leadership. There are more lessons to be learned from this story. Note that neither the hare nor the tortoise gave up after failures. So keep going and don't give up. The hare decided to work harder and put in more effort after his failure. The tortoise changed his strategy because he was already working as hard as he could. So in life, when you're faced with a failure, sometimes it is appropriate to work harder and put in more effort. And sometimes it is appropriate to change the strategy and try something different. And sometimes it is appropriate to do both. So that depends on our situation. The hare and the tortoise also learned another vital lesson. When we stop competing against a rival and instead start competing against a situation, we perform far better. So we've got a lot of learnings from this story. Now I would like to show you 2 slides and let's ponder that what do they signify. Let's see. Now, this is the most interesting slide of this presentation, which would actually justify the title. What I read about Abraham Lincoln, it is called "You Cannot Fail Unless You Quit." Let's take a look. His failure started from 1831. He failed in business. He defeated for legislature. He failed in business again. Even his fiancée dies. He had a nervous breakdown because of all this. Again, back to back, continuously at a stretch, he defeated all the election, US Congress, then defeated for US Vice President. So from 1831 till 1858, he faced only and only failure. But what happened at the end? Abraham Lincoln elected President of US 1860. Had it been he would have given up in any of these situations, we would not have been talking about him today. So to sum up, the story of the hare and tortoise teaches us many things. And the chief among them are: we are not living in a perfect world. Fast and consistent will always be slow and steady. Work according to your core competencies, which is your strength. Pooling resources and working as a team will always beat individual performers. Never give up when you're faced with failure. Compete against the situation, not against a rival. And finally, you are a creator of circumstances and not simply a creature of circumstances. Be the reason for change. Stay positive, stay safe. Thank you.